Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express, and on this side we talk the politics of the day on Political Point. With me in studio is Honorable James Gakuya, Member of Parliament for Embakasi North, and joining us via Zoom all the way from Nakuru is Alex Manyasi, a policy analyst. Thank you for staying on with us, and thank you at home for watching us. Now I'd like to get into it. We start off with those by-elections in Kabuchai and Matungu. They have been termed litmus tests for, of course, the powers that be politically. Now, in Kabuchai, Bungoma County, the last day of the campaigns was as intense as the various leaders and parties made last-minute efforts to secure a win come Thursday. KTN's Elvis Kosgei reports.
Political battles continued in Kabuchai constituency in Bungoma County on Monday as the Lion Party for Kenya challenged the United Democratic Party to a duel. Already political commentators say it will be a race between Bungoma Senator Moses Masika Wetangula and Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. While Kabuchai is the bedrock and home turf of Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula, who is expected to vote at Namahele polling station on Thursday, the DPs in the recent past made inroads in Bungoma County.
Sema hiki ni kinyang'anyiro kati yangu na Bwana Ruto, na mimi na hakika hapa ni kwangu nitamshinda. Nitamshinda. Hii ndio makazi yetu. This is our bedroom. Na watu hapa wanajua tofauti yangu na yeye, wanajua tofauti ya mkombeaji wetu na wake. Na ikifika tarehe 4, sisi hatulali, tutasunguka.
Kulingana kwanza wameningojesha bure bwana. Mimi naangalia na nataka tufanye betting na wewe. Tuweke hata milioni 1 hapa kwa meza. Nikipita unipe milioni 1. Lakini nikianguka wewe kule milioni. Najua hiyo milioni mimi nitakula.
Wetangula has expressed confidence of a win in spite of factors such as clan, party affiliations and resources.
Mtu akija kunishinda hapa nyumbani, kusema kweli itakuwa ni utata kwangu kisiasa. Lakini I'm not worried. I have no worry whatsoever. I am so confident, like I know who I am. I know who Majimbo is. I know who these MCAs are. Don't worry about the MPs. Those MPs are on borrowed time. They are running on an outer lane. We are running on an inner lane. And we are going to win this seat regardless. Because we know our people and our people know us.
Contest as a 3-horse race between Majimbo Kalasinga, Evans Kakai and independent candidate Gaspar Wafubwa, who have kept their cards quite close to their chests.
Ambia, mara hii hakuna kuiba kura. Wabunge wamekuja wote hapa. Hao ndio watakuwa agent. Kwa hivyo hakuna kuiba kura. Huko tutakuja, kura zitahesabiwa na mshindi atatangazwa. Kuiba kura huko hakuna. Ama mnasema namna gani watu wetu?
Wewe si mkaaji wa Kabuchai. Siku hiyo ukionekana kwa room yeyote atuwe ni agent, ujue mambo yako itaishia hapa. Tumejua hiyo na tumeweka wananchi on alert.
Sisi tumekuja hapa wote ni kujaribu kutafuta mtu ambaye atarekebisha uchumi wa Kabuchai ambaye ilikuwa imeharibiwa na mtu anaitwa Moses Masika Wetangula.
Yao wanachagua kiongozi mchapakazi. Ule kiongozi ataleta stima, maji, mambo ya basari, mambo ya mashule na CDF isimamiwe vizuri. Hiyo ni sauti ya hapa ya Kabuchai.
Hii kura yenu haitapotea. Tuko hapa, jeshi strong. Tuko wabunge zaidi ya 40 hapa Kabuchai.
Residents now have 2 days before they elect their new representative. The Kabuchai mini poll is heading down the home stretch to Thursday's final. BBI, clan and party politics, resource endowment and personalities could play a major role to determine the next member of parliament in a hotly contested race that has already attracted 8 candidates. Elvis Kosgei, KT News, Kabuchai constituency, Bungoma County.
And in similar news, Monday marked the final day of campaigns ahead of Thursday's by-election in Matungu constituency. And on this final day, the various leaders and parties embarked on last-ditch attempts to woo voters over to their side. And as Brian Otero reports, claims of vote rigging dominated the campaigns. Take a look.
Closing day of the Matungu campaigns. A battle that is more about the fight for the heart and soul of Western Kenya than it is about the race for who becomes the next member of parliament after Thursday's mini poll. As a result, the stakes couldn't be higher. Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi, leaving nothing to chance, led the campaigns for his party's pick, Peter Nabulindo.
Nataka niwaambie tarehe 4, kazi yetu ni moja. Kuamuka mapema, kupiga kura na kulinda kura.
Nabulindo is also backed by Ford Kenya, another party that is laying claim to the Western vote. The ANC leader would also use the platform to castigate rival ODM over plans to front Raila Odinga for next year's presidency.
Ndugu ya Raila anasema kwamba ni lazima Raila awe kwa ballot ya presidency. Sasa mimi nauliza, ni kwa nini walikuwa wakiambia Oparanya na wengine wafanye application na tayari wameamua kwamba candidate wa ODM atakuwa Raila Amolo Odinga?
On its part, the United Democratic Alliance claimed that there were plans to have Thursday's election rigged. Its candidate, Alex Lanya, alleging that the plot involved buying identification cards.
Tunajua wanakaa pale Kabula na Mumias. Wanaita watu, wanawanunua kwa shilingi 1,000, shilingi 1,500, shilingi 2,000. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni kunyima wananchi wa Matungu haki yao ya kupiga kura na kumchagua mbunge ambaye wangelipenda.
Independent candidates were also on the ground and remained emphatic, denying claims of plans to rig the vote.
There's us, aspirants, who have had an opportunity to create a list of genuine voters. So we'll have a form where people fill their names, ID numbers, and telephone numbers. So in some cases, those kind of operations have been seen as if you are trying to buy identity cards.
The Matungu seat fell vacant following the death of former MP Justus Murunga. ANC's Nabulindo and UDA's Lanya will square it out with, among others, ODM's David Were and 12 other candidates. The race seen as a battle between Deputy President William Ruto, ODM Supremo Raila Odinga, and ANC's Mudavadi. Brian Otieno, KTN News.
Now, given what happened in Msambweni, this, of course, turned out to be a popularity contest or a litmus test, as many of the papers are putting it, because these pockets of the country seem to indicate how popular some of the bigger political leaders are. And we're talking about the Deputy President William Ruto, ODM leader Raila Odinga, and of course the President. Now, on the paper, on the front page this morning, we're told what mini poll means for the Big Four, as candidates in Matungu and Kabuchai by-elections made their final pitches to voters. Yesterday, political daggers were drawn with the shadows of the bigwigs, Raila, Ruto, Mudavadi, Wetangula, looming large. And we've heard them talk right there. My question to our guest this morning is, as of course clearly it's a popularity contest, where does the interests of the interests of the people lie in all of this? Honorable Gakuya, I'll start with you.
Let me say it, Rick, that politics is a dirty game. That's one. Number two is a game of numbers. The contest here, Wanjiku, at the end of the day, is the decision maker. Her interest, she must generate her own path. Because electing a candidate means that you will be a member of parliament for the next life of this particular parliament.
Yes.
And therefore, Wanjiku must, yes, I have evaluated the list of the team, whether the candidate is at the ODM, whether the candidate is in the candidature ticket of ANC, or whether in Ford Kenya. Am I going to vote for a person that I am sure will deliver my dreams as a constituent, or am I going to be pushed by the crowds of this party looking for their mighty?
Now, Honorable Gakuya, I understand what you're saying, but from the reports we've just seen right there, it seems Wanjiku is not aware. They're just going by all the popularity that is going around, dancing at the rallies, waving. Are they aware about what this implies for their own future? Do we have an ignorant electorate?
Tricks what I can say.
Yeah.
Kenyans are very good learners of politics. And let me tell you, most of them are good analyzers than ourselves. And I can tell you, nobody will mislead you to tell you that actually Kenyans does not know what is good for them. But at some point, there is what we call influence, one, of their kingpins, number two, money.
Okay.
These two factors actually are given the highest priority. Because one feels that, yes, I need to part with something before I cast my vote. Let me tell you, that is where Wanjiku gets lost. And it is not going to be in the near future when Wanjiku will distance himself from this particular character. Because it's a bad character, because she will never be able to elect the right person. Always the waves of money, influence of those kingmakers will be driving her out of selecting or electing the best.
Yes.
But at some point, I would say Wanjiku will mature and say, enough is enough. Now the time is ripe, and I will be choosing the correct and the right thing. Okay. And that's only when Wanjiku will get out of these traps. Because at the point we are, she's totally in the trap.
Yes.
Because she will just elect a wave, but not anything in reality.
Okay.
And what I would say, according to the main polls that we have at Kabuchai and Matungu, it is very clear that actually here the battle, and I have listened to my good friend Matungu, senator, and if you have heard him well, his statement looks lukewarm. He's afraid that things may go otherwise. It tells you that the ground is very hot.
Okay.
And it tells you, yes, either the money has done tremendous inroad of some kind of push, or there are some intricacies that actually giving him some fear. But actually he's saying, here is my bedroom, and it will be very bad for me if I'm going to be beaten at home.
Yes.
But I can tell you, democracy does not look to those particular barriers. Democracy sees beyond, because surely democracy does not mean if you are my kingmaker or you are my Rocco leader that I must go your way because I want to protect you. First and foremost, the voter must think, why am I waking up to elect a leader? Is the leader worthy my interests? And that's the only point that actually gives you a result. But if we are not going to change our behavior in voting, then we'll be always going wrong. Okay. And it is very true, the battle in Matungu surely want to it is very delicate in Matungu more than Kabuchai, because we have three kingmakers. We have a kingmaker who is making a very strong, vigorous inroad, who is William Ruto. And here we have an incumbent who is want to grab from Laila what I can call the mighty of Western.
Absolutely.
This is Musalia Mudavadi. Yes. And then here there is somebody who feels his ground is slipping. Who is now the principal Raila Odinga. He must make sure that all is done to make sure that he protects that region. Because actually, it is like Western, 60% belongs to him. And going to the crowds of the time, it's like things are changing.
All right, all right. And just to your point, there's a quote here, very telling quote by Moses Wetangula, Ford Kenya leader. He has made an appeal to the voters. He says, this is the time I need you the most. Do not embarrass me by not voting for Kalasinga. A vote for Kalasinga is a vote for me. Now, Alex Manyasi, popularity contest aside, on one side, and then we have the interests of the people on the other side. And Honorable Gakuya has introduced another element, the bedrooms and the kingpins that own them. What say you about what is important in these by-elections?
Yeah, these two by-elections are going to be very indicative of a lot of things, and rightly so. if I can start with Kabuchai.
Yes.
The interest are going to be largely about the ability of Moses Wetangula to actually secure Kabuchai, and by extension have the capacity to negotiate. Because if he loses Kabuchai, then his ability to negotiate with anyone going forward politically in terms of negotiating for the community is going to be completely diminished. That's one. Secondly, if Kakai, who is the DP's man, was to go through in Kabuchai, then, the DP has been having a lot of interest, especially in Bungoma County. And if he was to succeed in Bungoma, then what will happen is that he will have the right, so to speak, to actually go into the bedroom and do whatever he pleases. And therefore, the decision of the people of Kabuchai to vote Kakai will actually mean that you diminish the capacity of having a roadblock in the name of Moses Wetangula and having a sail through into the bedroom by the deputy president. So that's what it means. So then, of course, the issues around the voter and who is more popular and who is likely to bring a difference in the lives of the people of Kabuchai, you will see in this context then come secondary. The unfortunate bit, of course, which Mheshimiwa has mentioned, is that if money is going to be involved, Wanjiku has gotten to a point where the vulnerability and the weakest point of the voter in Kenya today is the aspect of money. So if money is going to influence those two decisions, of course, what Wetangula is trying to do is to appeal to the hearts of the people of Kabuchai. But on the other end, what the other team that is Kakai-led is trying to do is going to try to appeal to the minds of the people of Kabuchai. And so the minds and the hearts, if they do not converge, then you will see that the person who wins will be the one who convinces the most in terms of those two aspects. And of course, the money factor will be a major player. And if the coast region was anything to go by, then you will see that that is going to play a very big role. ODM lost a seat that they should never have lost because of the way those things were played out. If you look at Matungu, Matungu is a mixed bag. You look at it from Raila Odinga, who is trying to make sure that he actually holds on that region. Raila is not very popular in Bungoma, but he's more popular in Kakamega. And so if he's trying to push that he remains relevant, then that is the ODM candidate. On the other hand, you have the deputy president who is trying to make forays in Kakamega, which he's not very popular in. So you see, that is the new entrant. But of course, you have one Musalia Mudavadi, who is again trying to appeal to the hearts of people of Matungu and Kakamega for that matter, by trying to imagine that he can push the people of that region into believing that if he loses this seat, then how can they be fronting a president when he cannot deliver a seat like Matungu?
Absolutely.
So you see, that is those are the scenarios that are going on between the two by-elections.
All unfolding before our eyes. We shall be updating you on that as it unfolds. Let's go on to the next big story in the country, and that has to do with the woes of the Deputy President as well as his supporters. We are having on the front page of the Standard, we're told Ruto's last man standing kicked out. It all started with talk of a fallout between the Deputy President and the President, and then verbal exchanges that gave way to a purge. Yesterday, the President's men completed the ouster of DP's allies after they kicked out Caleb Kositany. And we are having here various quotes. Mr. Murathe told Mr. Kositany that he and other Tanga MPs campaigning for UDA candidates would be expelled. I am putting Kositany on notice that when NMC meets on Monday, we will remove you from the party. This was made, this is a quote, something that was said earlier on. Now, let's take a look at this story just to bring us into that conversation. The Deputy President, William Ruto's tribulations continued after the Jubilee National Management Committee yesterday afternoon resolved to suspend his close ally and Soy legislator Caleb Kositany from the Deputy Secretary General post. Kositany was replaced by Cherangani Member of Parliament Joshua Kutuni, and as political reporter Murimi Mwangi now tells us, Kositany says he will not challenge that removal.
With an army of over 100 rebels behind him, Deputy President William Ruto has been a man on the revolt mode.
Hamuwezi kunifukuza ODM ati mkanifuata ati mnanifukuza Jubilee. Haiwezekani.
But turns out that the said eviction party may come sooner than expected. After the Jubilee Management Committee resolved to kick out Ruto's last ally in senior party leadership, Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositany. In a statement to newsrooms late Monday evening, Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju said the committee, after a meeting at the party headquarters, had in exercise of its mandate under Article 7.2 of the Jubilee Party Constitution, resolved to remove Kositany from the position, replacing him with Cherangani legislator Joshua Kutuni.
Gari ya mahasla, sindio?
Kositany's troubles coming only days after Jubilee Vice Chair David Murathe, in a live interview on KTN News, warned that the Soy legislator and Ruto would soon be facing the music for alleged insubordination to party boss President Uhuru Kenyatta.
I think the eviction party of the Hasla mansion is loading. That one you can take to the bank. Very soon, there will be an eviction party from the Hasla mansion in Karen, and I can assure you it is loading.
But reacting to his eviction, Kositany told KTN News that his supposed rejection had confirmed his worst fears of how undemocratic the ruling party had become, adding that he would not contest the decision, as it would be akin to behaving like a tick hanging on a carcass. These developments coming only days after the political party's Dispute Resolution Tribunal blocked the ejection of 6 rebel Jubilee senators, including Millicent Omanga and Isaac Mwaura, pending hearing and determination of their petitions before the tribunal. Already, over 100 Jubilee elected members of parliament have instructed their respective clerks to redirect their monthly party remittances to an entity dubbed Kazi ni Kazi Foundation. The latest event, no doubt, widening the wedge between Ruto and his boss, President Kenyatta.
Kama unataka uzuri wake, kae naye. Kama unataja ubaya wake, toka uache wale wengine waendelee.
For those who want to drive the rest of us into a corner in a government that we created together, that we look for together, and on an agenda we sold to the people of Kenya together, we want to tell them we are gentlemen.
Yet another day for the troubled Uhuru marriage, and the squabbling only promises to escalate the messy Jubilee fallout as the 2022 realignments continue. Murumi Mwangi, KTN News in Nairobi.
Thank you, Mrimi Mwangi, for that story. And the paper, the Daily Nation, this morning is predicting that cases of the DP responding directly to his boss are bound to increase as we head towards the 2022 elections, given that the president, according to all that we have seen in the news, has resolved to hand power over to someone other than the deputy. When you see what's transpiring at Honorable Gakuya, what comes to mind?
Let me say, this is politics.
Yeah.
And in politics, you expect a lot. And whenever you find some element of smoke, expect fire. We are heading to what we call climax in 2022. In this particular year alone, we are subjected to what we call referendum. That's another election. Taking all this consideration, it tells you the preparation of the referendum majorly is based on succession politics. And therefore, you must expect a lot of heat going forward. And until such a point that we cross to 2021, then we move to that particular year of the 2022 is only when this fire is going to be a bit low. Because now everybody, it will be within time when everybody can cross from either from the civil servant and join politics, and those are the windows given by the Constitution that at a particular before 6 months, at least that particular time, one can cross from this party to another, or this. But at least in this particular year, it's very dangerous that the party can expel you.
Yes.
Because the parties has mandated by the law that you cannot belong to two parties once you are elected by a certain one. And therefore, this particular case, that is why the deputy president will just stay in a very cool way that you cannot see him directly campaigning in Matungu or Kabuchai.
Yes.
The reason why is that he will be totally against the law, and that way it is a direct missile to push him out from the party of Jubilee. But as we stand now, he is not the registered official of UDA. And therefore, his relationship with UDA can be neither here nor there. But majorly, that is his intended vessel come 2022. And let me tell you, what is happening, all his brigades, you see them, they are the people campaigning down there. But why do you think that they are so courage in this, and they know very well the consequences? The reason is one, they know we are just only less than 2 years
away from the general election,
in the life of the parliament. And therefore, what the Jubilee party can do most is just to suspend them from the party.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that you have seen the hook that actually the senators has hooked. Then they are very sure, they have very smart lawyers, they will just move to the tribunal and they will just get what you call orders of stay. And therefore, these people will serve to the rest of their term, whether there is what we call charges, apologies, or political party charges or not. And Tricks, let me say this. The bitter end is that we are using double sword. Because Jubilee, in one phase, it is telling us, yes, themselves, they have not gone to any single merger, official merger with ODM. But we have seen them making efforts of supporting candidatures of ODM candidates.
Yeah.
What is different when the deputy can also take a stand or supporting a different candidate? Because one, there is no what we call a corrective order or a corrective decision made, including the opinion of the deputy president in Jubilee as a party. And if you are sidelined from making a decision of the party, at what point did the Secretary General would want the deputy president to come in to make decisions if all the decisions that actually is entitled to are done elsewhere without his presence or without his invitation? To me, I would say, if there is people who has taken this party to the dogs, one is the Secretary General, because he has played a role that actually is for a role of division.
Okay.
He has not been able to bring the party together. He has never called for what we call delegates of this particular party to make decisions. And decisions for 8 good years now are being made by few individuals, sidelining the others. So I would say whether they would just suspend even the deputy secretary general from the party, I think it's a long overdue. And all the guns are very clear that Kostani is on another bus.
Yes, yes.
And therefore, it is not. It will be not of. It's not going to be of big harm to him. And I will tell you, nothing in Nigeria will come. In the issue to do with taking over of deputy president's office in Karen, I would tell Murathe should read what we call the constitution and the privileges. The deputy president will enjoy the privileges to the end.
As long
and
as
that particular house is taxpayers' office. And that is a particular house home.
Yeah.
Nobody can dare to say that the deputy president does not require what we call security, that is paramount to him, and all other privileges that are upon him. Until such a time, they will constitutionally remove him out.
Okay. Mr. Manyasi, I was about to ask you what you make of those threats to kick the deputy out of that residential area, his office. What do you make of that? And, of course, do you think it's a literal kicking out, or is he just making political threats? Do you think this is even possible, given what the Constitution says?
If he was being figurative by removing from Karen, then that would make sense. But if he meant literally removing the DP from the current residence, then that's practically not possible, and that's not legally not possible.
Yeah.
Because the deputy president is actually entitled as a deputy president, not as a deputy party leader of Jubilee. So those two have to be looked at separately and differently. So any decisions that are made, and if you think about what these people have been doing, especially the Jubilee, the mainstream Jubilee, you will realize that they have been focusing on raiding his allies to weaken his capacity to do what he has been doing. So that is what, including removing Kostanyi from the Deputy Secretary General position. However, if you think about it, then you will see that as long as Kostanyi has been removed from that position, then probably the best question to ask is, has he been Deputy Secretary General? Like, literally, has he been undertaking his responsibilities since the last election? If you asked me, I would say no. So he has been in office, but he has not been in office.
Yeah.
So he's not been part of the decisions.
So it's neither here nor there?
Since the DP fell out with the president. And so if that is the case, then his removal is long overdue, and therefore he needed to have been replaced with someone else who can work with the party and someone else who can make decisions, because he has not. Because he's been on the other side, and therefore he's been sidelined.
Yeah, Mr. Manyasi, I'd like to pause you on that, because even though he hasn't had much influence, I do believe what's happening is less about them being removed from a position, and more of a political statement. Don't you agree?
Yes, political statements will always be there in terms of people like Kostanyi being removed from positions of the party. It's more about saying you need to toe the line. Because you see also what that does is that every time Kostanyi will say, we didn't make that decision, we didn't ratify that, that decision was not made by us. So by saying that in itself might look like Jubilee has made decisions without consulting. So what you do is you replace them, so that when decisions are made, you say that the position of the party was X, and the people who are in leadership of the party actually made this decision. So you reduce the bickering around saying that that decision is being contested because it was not unanimous or because it was not all-inclusive. So that's what it does, and that's what Raphael Tuju and probably his party boss is attempting to do. But ultimately, in terms of the real architecture of the politics itself, then you will see that people like Kostanyi will have very little to lose in terms of their own political backyard. So he may not lose his political base unless he had already lost it anyway, just because he has been removed from the position of the party. Of course, something else that I wanted to mention is it's interesting that the political party tribunal, this country is very strange. It's the only country where people will put an injunction on a decision made, and that injunction will last until the next election. So the fact that we have political party tribunals, the fact that you have the Political Parties Act, it actually renders the entire process meaningless. And we will never have sanity in political parties for as long as, for example, when you're removed from office, Aisha Juma is an example. The 6 party officials, Isaac Maura, and they are another example of how a political party tribunal can actually hold hostage decisions made at the party level. And for as long as that continues, then it means that political parties will never have sanity, and ultimately people will continue being rogue depending on which political side you stand on, for as long as we have possibilities. And that's why Kenyans have always thought that we created laws that are meant to be for the rich and not for common persons, because someone will get away with anything. You see, the tribunal should expedite the process of removal of nullifying that removal, but not holding everybody hostage for more than 2 years.
All right, Mr. Manyasi, Alex Manyasi is a policy analyst. Thank you so much for making the time to join us via Zoom all the way from Nakuru. And we have here in studio James Gakuye, Member of Parliament, Embakasi North. Thank you so much for helping us bring context to the politics of the day. We take a short break. On the other side, very special interview, person of interest, brought to us by Jesse Rogers. Stay tuned to Morning Express.